Hey guys, Ryan Hasser here, Huston Electric Safety Department. Today I wanted to go over a little bit of silica exposure in construction. A lot of people wonder, what is silica and why am I talking about silica? Well, silica is more or less quartz. It's found in stone, sand. In construction you find it a lot in concrete and brick. What we're after is determining the difference between regular dust and respirable dust. Respirable dust is the smaller microns, so microns less than 10 would be considered respirable dust, something that you can actually breathe in. So a grain of salt is 60 microns, whereas a bread mold spore would be 2 microns. So you'd actually be able to breathe in the bread spore, but you can't breathe in salt. There's the new OSHA construction silica standard is the 29 CFR 1926-1153. That I know does not mean much to anybody, but we're going to go over the scope and the definitions, as well as what we need to do to keep you, Huston Electric employees, safe, as well as the other people on the job site safe, and what we're going to do to keep in compliance. Some of the symptoms of inhaled silica would be shortness of breath, loss of appetite, chest pains, also a thing called cyanosis, which is a bluish skin. It actually turns the inner tint of your skin blue. Also a couple other symptoms as far as the shortness of breath. This is something that is very similar to asbestos. This isn't something that happens immediately. This is something that happens over time. So we're really looking at making sure that we're keeping our workforce healthy over a longer period of time. It's not something that's going to happen right away. So just keep that in mind. As far as the exposure limits, and just recently OSHA dropped the permissible exposure limit from 50 micrograms, or what was originally 100 micrograms, down to 50 micrograms. So they dropped that in half. And they also set an action level where we have to provide or do something at 25 micrograms per cubic meter. For instance, the dust or the speck that you see next to this penny is the amount of dust that you would be able to breathe in and still be under the permissible exposure limit after an 8-hour time shift. So we're talking very, very, very small microns. So a lot of people are wondering, where is silica coming from as far as why are we creating it in the workplace? Well, it's done over multiple different trades, different types of work. The most common for us is using these hammer drills that you see in front here. A lot of times it's masons cutting brick, concrete guys, cutting expansion joints, so on and so forth. And everybody is going to be responsible for protecting not only themselves but the people working around them. So, exposure determination in the silica standard, they either give you option A or option B. Option A, it's very, very common. I think this is what most construction companies are going to be going with, which it just says to use table 1. Well, table 1 is the first attachment to the new silica standard, and it basically matches control measures, be it engineering or PPE, along with the common activity or common trade tasks that are happening, i.e. using a hammer drill or jackhammering or concrete cutting, so on and so forth. So each one of these common common tasks are going to be associated with a control measure in Table 1. Here is where Table 1 is, and this will also be in the Huston Electric safety manual. It's going to have its own tab as far as silica exposure. And so for the handheld stand-mounted drills, including impact and rotary hammer drills, if we use the engineering controls made by Milwaukee or Hilti or DeWalt, any of these companies, we can do our task without having to use respirators. And that's the name of the game here. We do not want to go to respirators. It's much better to use an engineering control versus PPE. It's always better to just use engineering instead of PPE. So what we will be using is a couple different tools that we're going to go over here in just a second. So when we do follow the Table 1 rules, and I will make sure that every job site has a copy of this to put in their safety manual. It's really rather simple. For all of these tasks where you're going to be cutting or grinding to and disturbing silica, creating silica dust, we're going to have to either cut wet, which has always been a pretty standard practice, especially if you're core drilling or saw cutting. Everything is designed to be cut wet, because if you add enough water to keep the dust down, then the hazard is also remissible. So we don't even have to use the engineering controls if you can do this task wet. But if we can't do it wet, which a lot of times if you're using electric drill, it's not a very good idea to do a wet cut unless it's designed specifically for that purpose. Vacuums and everything need to be equipped with HEPA vacuums, or something that's going to remove at least 99% of all the microns. So more or less all of the Milwaukee, Hilti, DeWalt, all of these, they're using HEPA vacs in order to reach this. Alright, so this unit literally snaps right in. It's all self-contained, runs off of one battery. The only thing that you really have to do after you snap it in is you want to make sure that your dust collection shroud is even with your drill bit, because this is all pressure activated once you are running this piece of equipment. So as soon as this starts getting depressed, the vacuum kicks on and starts sucking the dust out of this shroud right here. So pop my battery in, got everything set, got my safety glasses and my gloves on, we're ready to drill. You can see the vacuum actually self-cleaned or cleared itself out. That's why it runs just a little bit longer. And we got our hole. And barely any dust. I mean, the dust that's on here just came off of this block I found out in the yard. So this is the self-contained unit. Now, the other unit that they also made available is an M12 unit. It is very something that runs on its own. It still has the pressure. It also has an auto switch. It also has an off and on switch. So if you leave it in the auto position, as soon as this is depressed back in, it kicks on. As far as mounting it makes it really convenient. So this is a Hilti T30. In order to install these, all you have to do is in the M12 kit, there's 3 different size collars. Small, medium, and large. So you pick out the collar that fits, and I think this is the medium size collar that I put on this one. You literally just put it on, tighten the handle, the collar tightens around that. and then this simply just clamps onto the outside. Once again, you make sure that your bit is through there, and it literally just clamps on just like that. Now we still do need to make sure that this is even with the tip of the bit. That way, as soon as depression begins, you can start going. I'll show you this. Go ahead and plug this. Plug this in. As soon as I press down on this, it's going to go ahead, because I have it in the auto function, it's going to go ahead and kick on the vacuum, and then you're ready to drill. It'll still clear out, so it's self-cleaning, it's all contained. Look, no dust. No silica dust floating in the air. You know, we were able to do this, no problem, and you know, very, very little impact to health and everybody around us. So, you know, that pretty much wraps up, you know, how these things work. I know a couple other things that I probably should go over real quick. You know, anytime you're doing anything with these, you want to either make sure that it's unplugged or the battery's removed. You know, that way it doesn't trigger itself. I guess I should go over as far as how to empty out the dust collection. So on this unit, I'm going to slide this apart. Don't need the drill anymore. And as far as the dust collection, it's just a cartridge out from underneath. The dust collection, as far as the silica microns that we're worried about, the respirable, it's already self-contained. This is literally just dust. So you got some brick dust in there from earlier use. I mean, so this is not harmful to us. It's the smaller microns that are respirable. So that just goes right back in. And on this unit, it's very similar, only it's in the rear. It's just right there, and we don't even have enough dust in there to dump out. So, you know, these units, I get it, they're kind of big and bulky. You know, there's a pretty big difference between, you know, just having this versus having the entire unit. I get it. You know, it's not ideal, but it's something that we have to do to keep you safe and keep you compliant. You know, some of the guys, we already have quite a few of these out in the field. And one comment that guys really do like about these, you're drilling overhead or, you know, drilling right here, you're not getting covered in dust because it's actually sucking everything through the shroud. You know, it's really creating a cleaner work environment, not only for, you know, the air you're breathing, but also, you know, just not being covered in dust. So there are some advantages. I get that, you know, this unit here, you know, you put another battery and, you know, what looks like a little M12 radio, about comparable in size. You know, it does make it a little bit bigger and bulkier, but it's also it's a lot more convenient and a lot more efficient than wearing a respirator. You know, that is the big thing here. You know, we're using engineering instead of PPE. So as far as in conclusion with the silica standard, you know, I really do appreciate everything everybody does around here, and I want to make sure that everybody stays safe. You know, that's the name of the game. So if you have questions, concerns, please don't hesitate in contacting me. I will be the Huston Electric competent person for the exposure and everything with the silica standard as well. If we have a situation that isn't covered under table 1, as far as, you know, your simple hammer drilling or whatnot, you know, I definitely want to be involved in that and make sure that we're moving forward with this. You know, this is going to be a work in progress. It's a new standard. Sure, there's going to be, you know, some one-offs and everything else, and we'll deal with that as they come. You know, there's also other equipment out there You know, there's HEPA-vacs that, you know, you put an attachment on the wall and it acts the same way as the shroud does, only on a larger scale. There's you know, there's many different options that we have, and you know, we'll look at each one of them. For right now, this is the two that are going to be the most common, so I wanted to make sure to get it out in front of everybody. I do appreciate it, and you guys stay safe out there.